Hello and welcome. So, the purpose of this video is going to be to break down the new items that are being introduced to League of Legends in Season 12. These are the items that are currently on the PBE. Now, if you want to see kind of a more first look or first reaction to the items, then that video will be uploaded roughly the same time as this one. So, if you are interested in that, then obviously go and check that video out. And this video is going to be more of a in-depth kind of breakdown. So what I've done is I've spent the time to go onto the PBE. I've got all of the items that are being introduced. I've got their build paths and obviously what they do. And then I went and calculated the gold efficiency of all of these items. Now, if you're not too familiar with gold efficiency, what it means is how much gold do you get back out of the items that you buy. Now, most gold efficiency is calculated based on just the base stats alone. Obviously, there are some situations where we can calculate how much the passives are giving as well, and this is a very, very good insight to how powerful the items are. Obviously, build path is very important as well, but what we're going to be doing is we've already broken it all down, so we're just going to be discussing the items, like who I think they might be good on, what situations they're going to be good in, and just kind of go over all that so that we can, you know, see what Season 12 has in store. Now, obviously, I am coming off the back of being a little bit sick, so bear with me, but overall, let's jump straight into it. So the first item that is being introduced is a AP mythic item. Now this year, AP champions really have struggled. It has been very heavy kind of assassin meta. AD mids, bruisers have been the kings of the game, and you know, it has felt like mages have been kind of swept under the rug a little bit with the item changes that did come from Riot. Now, what we've done is we've taken the time to break it all down, so let's jump into it. So the item gives 70 AP, 250 HP, 600 mana, and 20 ability haste. So those come to a total of 1522.50 for the AP, 667.5 for the HP, 840 for the mana, and 533.4 gold for the ability haste. Now, if you're not familiar with gold efficiency, the way you work it out is you get the cheapest component that provides that stat. So, for example, if we're looking at AD, a longsword is worth 350 gold and provides us with 10 attack damage. Now, if we divide the 350 gold by that 10 attack damage, we can find out the value of 1 AD. So this is how much gold that 1 AD is worth. So that's how we kind of work it out. So we're getting the component, we're breaking it down, and that's how we find out the gold efficiency of items when they're introduced in the game, etc. So the base stats for this item alone are 3,563.40 gold, and the item only costs 20k 100 gold. So overall, this item, even the base stats alone, you're already getting way more gold, a total of 127.26%. just from the item alone. So that's 27.26 bonus gold just for finishing the item. So this is going to be extremely powerful. I think it's too powerful, to be honest. When you actually break it down, I think it's a bit too good. So the passive is it has 2 safeguards. So while you are safeguarded, it reduces the incoming champion damage by 50%. Now that is a massive amount, and it also persists for 1.5 seconds after you take damage. So assassins that want to jump in, do damage to you, and then jump out, it's going to be very difficult for them to actually get off their damage and, you know, kill mages when they do get this item while they're safeguarded. Now, well safeguarded as well, for 3 seconds after it's broken, you gain 10 to 40 ability power. Now that's a huge amount of AP, especially considering AP is worth roughly 21 gold each. So that's a massive amount. So I think it's 21.75 per AP. So that's a massive amount just in this item. So very, very valuable. We can also work out the mythic passive as well for the 1% movement speed and the 50 HP. So that comes to 173 gold per legendary item that you have. So obviously at 5 items you're getting 865 gold out of this mythic passive as well. That means when you're full build with this mythic item, the item alone is going to be giving you 5,298.40 gold. Now that's a massive amount of gold for a 2800 gold item. I do think they are probably going to up this initial cost more towards that kind of 3k mark. I wouldn't even mind this going up to say 3.2k. I think 3.4 is kind of high. But, you know, I think that's kind of the direction it's going, and this will just allow mages to have a massive amount more survivability. Now, obviously, mage assassins like LeBlanc aren't really going to favor this as much because it doesn't give any penetration. So the mages that do need that pen are probably going to go with that. But the kind of mages that are going to look to scale, things like Rise, Orianna, I think this is going to be amazing on them, especially the immobile ones. Things like TF as well, I think this is going to be amazing for them. Now, as we can see here, the gold efficiency, just for the base stat, 127.26, like we mentioned. With a passive, it goes to 158.34%. When you get one legendary item, so you get that one mythic boost, it's going to be 164.51%. And then when you're full build, it's going to be just shy of 190% gold efficient. So basically at full build, you're going to almost double the gold that you put into this item, which is incredibly high when you have items that, you know, don't really get past 100% and also have a good passive. Usually you get either base stats or a good passive. You don't usually get both. With this item, you get both. So very, very strong. I think this is a very exciting item to look out for, and it's going to kind of terrorize the game a little bit, but, you know, it's going to be fun. So on to the next item. Now, Even Shroud. This is going to be a tank utility jungler / support item. Now, this is kind of similar to Abyssal Mask in the fact that it increases damage to all nearby enemy champions. Now, Abyssal Mask is only the people you kind of CC, so if you've got one target and you're playing something like Nautilus, Abyssal Mask can be very, very good. Now, Even Shroud is going to be kind of more... you can CC anyone and everybody nearby will take that increased damage, so this is going to make team fights even more explosive. Now the base stats, 200 HP worth 534 gold, 20 ability haste worth 533.4 gold, 30 armor worth 600, and 30 magic resist worth 540. So in total, it does come to 2207.4 gold. So, you know, just over 2,000. The mythic passive, which grants all other legendary items 5 armor and magic resist, is giving you 190 gold per legendary item. And in total, at full build, you will get 950 bonus gold out of the mythic, which puts the item to 3,157.4 gold. Now, obviously, when we've just looked at the Crown of the Shatter Queen, this doesn't look as good, right? Now, one of the big things, one of the big mistakes that people do make in solo queue a lot, and even in comp, is they will build their mythic item first. Now, there's no real incentive to be building mythic item first unless it's extremely powerful, like Crown of the Shattered Queen. You can build that first and it's very, very good. But with something like this, I don't see this being a rushed item. I think rushing something like Winter's Approach, or even if you're looking to kind of stomp solo queue on something like Zac, maybe you could get Dark Seal early, make that into a MAGES, which is already pretty good on Zac, especially since you're able to survive for so long. And, you know, a 1600 gold MAGES that gives a legendary kind of item and a mythic passive bonus, you know, it could open some very interesting kind of avenues for tanks. I do think this is best in second item, and the reason for this is that when you do finish it, obviously without the passive, it's coming to 88.30% gold efficiency. Now, this does seem a little bit rough. Obviously, you're losing roughly 12% of the gold that you put into this item, which comes to about 300 gold lost. Now, the reason why this isn't too bad is because, like I said, if you already get a mythic bonus of one item before you build this, obviously you won't get it, but you'll get it as soon as you complete this item, then it does go up to roughly 96% gold efficiency, which means, you know, you're not actually losing anywhere near as much. You're only going to be losing roughly 100 gold, so it's completely fine. I think it's going to be better as a second item, but even if you build it as a first item, you just have to be aware that you've lost 300 gold. Now this isn't too big for some kind of tank junglers, because, you know, 300 gold, it is a little bit of a knock, but you're a tank, so it's okay. Now, when you do have full build, this is going to be giving you 126.30%. So I think this is completely fine. I actually think this item is going to be very powerful, but part of me does think it's somewhat balanced, just because, you know, you do lose that initial gold, and you know, it's kind of like an Abyssal Mask, but in a mythic form, which means that it will get taken much more frequently. Abyssal Mask was already good, but slightly too expensive, especially on things like support. So I think this is going to be a very, very good item. Moving on to the next. Now, the next item is obviously already in the game, but it is being changed. Now, the new Phosphate Gauntlet is going to be giving 350 HP for 934.5 gold, 25 armor for 500 gold, 25 magic resist for 450 gold, 20 ability haste for 433.4, and yeah, then the mythic passive gives you 100 HP and 6% size. We can't really calculate this size because there's no real way to calculate that gold efficiency, but just the HP alone gives you 267 gold per legendary item for a maximum of full build of 1335 gold. Now, this item in total is going to come to 2417.9 gold, and it does cost 2800. So you are also going to be losing gold on this, only 86.35% gold efficient. Now, if we do look at its passive though, this is where that extra gold comes from. Immolate, taking on dealing damage, causes you to begin dealing 12 plus 1% bonus magic damage per second to nearby enemies, increased by 25% against minions and 150% against jungle monsters. So it's going to allow these tank junglers to clear even easier, and that's kind of one of the big purposes of this item. Now, the second passive is Snowbind. Attacks create a frost field for 1.5 seconds and deal 20 to 100 based on level, plus 0.5% of your total HP, or 10 to 50 for ranged champions and 0.25% of your HP. This is just to stop this being abused by ranged champions. Obviously, melees rely on this more than what a ranged champion would. It just stops that abuse. Magic damage to all enemies in the area. For 4 seconds for melee, or, you know, enemies that move across the field are slowed by a 25% plus 0.004 of your maximum HP, and then for range that is halved again to stop that abuse. Now, I don't think it's going to be taken on kind of ranged champions, to be honest. I think this is more so a tank item, especially tank junglers and top lane. I think this is, you know, still going to be taken on them. Now, at full build, because the armor at the HP is worth, you know, quite a decent amount, it's going to be worth 3,752.9 gold of full build. This is kind of going to mean that later on into the game, on the kind of big scaling picks, like things like Ornn, it's going to be very, very good. Obviously, again, at 1 mythic, it's roughly 96% gold efficient, so you'd lose a bit of gold, but then when you get 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and then 5th, it goes up to 134.3% gold efficiency. So, again, I think this item is still going to be very, very good. There's a lot of kind of opportunity for damage and stuff like that, and I think this is going to be focused on those really big tanks, like things like Ornn, you know, that just want that kind of extra damage in the laning phase, but also want to scale and be super, super tanky. So, again, 2,800 gold total. But yeah, I think this is going to be a very good item as well. Even though it already is, I think it's going to be even better with these changes. Now, the next item is Turbo Chem Tank. Now, this item saw a massive amount of play when it first came out, and then it did get hit a little bit. So it is getting reworked for the new season. It's going to be having 350 HP worth 667.5 gold, 25 armor worth 500, 25 magic resist worth 450, 20 ability haste worth 533.4, which means overall the item is going to be worth 2150 gold, 2150.9 gold, should I say. So obviously we are losing quite a lot of gold since it's a 2800 gold item. So what that kind of means is that this kind of passive is worth roughly 600 gold. So let's see. So the active is supercharge, grants 40% move speed towards enemies or enemy turrets for 4 seconds. Once near an enemy or after 4 seconds, a shockwave is emitted that slows nearby champions for 50% for 1.5 seconds. So roughly the same as what it does now. Moving and dealing damage fills up the chem tank. So this is new to the item. At 100 stacks, your next basic attack deals 40 to 120 based on level, plus 1% HP, plus 3% magic damage to all nearby enemies, increased by 25% against minions and 175% against jungle monsters. So this is actually new to the item, and this is going to very heavily benefit a lot of the champions that like it. So things like Rammus, this is going to be a huge bonus to him because it's giving him that movement speed to actually get in, and then it's going to mean that your it's kind of like the energized passive, but it's refuel. So I actually really do like this passive. It means the tanks are going to have a little bit more damage as well, so they can actually deal with people. Now, one of the reasons why I think this is also very good is even on champions like, for example, Sejuani, who just build pure HP, and things like Gragas. I think this is a very big kind of Gragas full tank angle or kind of off tank angle. I think this could be pretty interesting. Obviously it doesn't give him any AP in the base stats, but you know, if you do get AP items as well, things like Dark Seal, MAGES, even on things like I think Zach will prefer other items actually, but I think this could be good on things like the tank Gragas. That might see a comeback. We'll see. Now the mythic passive is it grants every other item 5 ability haste and 50 HP. This is 266.85 gold per mythic bonus that you get, which means a full build again 1334.25 gold. Now this means that obviously this item when you initially buy it is very bad gold efficient wise. You are going to lose a considerable amount of gold, roughly that's 600 gold. That's a lot of gold to lose. So if this passive is not utilized properly in that game, then you are actually going to really shoot yourself in the foot with this item. So I can see this item maybe not being built anywhere near as much, especially as things like even Shroud existing, because even at one kind of legendary item, it's only 86.35%, which as we saw with even Shroud and Phosphate Gauntlet, they're roughly 96%. Now obviously when you do get full build, it is going to be 124.47%, so this is going to be pretty good for later on into the game. And you know, it could be a very good item in the situations it is good at. So I'm gonna hold my judgments about this item a little bit, purely because I think the champions that will use it are going to be very good with it, but I think it does have the potential to lose a lot of kind of power, so you have to take into consideration that you're losing all that gold. Let's go on to the next item. So the next item is Winter's Approach and Fumble Winter. This I think is actually a extremely interesting addition into the game. So the base stats 400 HP, that's 1068 gold, 500 mana, that's 700, 15 ability haste, which is 400.05 gold, and in total obviously the base stats come to 2168.05, so kind of the same as the last item, Turbo Chem Tank. It does lose quite a lot of gold when you build Winter's Approach, but it does transform when you fully stack tier into a Fimble Winter. Now Fimble Winter is the upgraded version. It's going to give you the same HP with 1068 gold, so it's going to give you 1204 mana, so 12,004 mana, and 15 ability haste, which is the same as the base item. So a massive amount of mana, which is going to be really, really nice. Now, the thing is, Winter's Approach also gives you HP equal to 8% of your total mana. So this is going to mean that you're going to be getting HP slowly throughout the game, which is going to be really, really good. So I think, obviously, since it gives so much mana, it's going to be very, very kind of interesting to see which champions really go for this. I do think even things like Sejuani, Gragas again, it's going to be maybe good on them. I mean, it doesn't have as much haste as what things like Gragas like, so maybe not so much. But overall, as a tank item, I think this is going to be very, very interesting, especially giving tier the accessibility for tanks. Could be very, very interesting. Now, the total gold when it is upgraded is 2672.05. This is a legendary item, by the way, so it doesn't get any mythic bonus. So the gold efficiency is 102.77%. Now, I think this item is going to be very, very interesting because it is 2600 gold as well. So it's, you know, slightly cheaper. Obviously, this is probably going to only be taken on tanks, things like jungle and top tanks. Not so much on support, I don't think, purely because the item is very, very expensive and a lot of it is in the mana. Obviously, we can see that when you upgrade the item, 1204 gold does go into the mana alone. So quite a lot, even 700 gold with the Winter's Approach, so it might be interesting. I think overall this is going to be abused by a lot of people, and we'll see how it goes. I do really like this item. I think it's going to bring an interesting approach, and I think there's a lot of champions that are going to love it. Maybe it's even an angle for things like Kassadin to build, because when you do upgrade it into Fimbulwinter, immobilizing or slowing melee only. Now, to my knowledge, this is immobilizing or slowing. So we have to put a kind of mark in here because the slowing, I think, is for melee only. So if you immobilize somebody, you get it. But if your melee are slow, so things like Kassadin E will actually activate the item. So it consumes 3% of your current mana and grants a shield for 3 seconds, absorbing 100 to 200 based on level, plus 5% of current mana damage, and it's on an 8-second cooldown. The shield is increased by 80% if more than one enemy is nearby. Now, this is going to be huge. Now, this is going to be roughly a 400 to 500 minimum shield as soon as you finish the item when you jump in. Now, this is the reason why I think this item is going to be absolutely insane, because obviously we do lose gold here, but we gain it all back here, and then we get this. I think this is going to be a staple item on every tank, to be honest. I think it's going to be very, very heavily abused, and I really look forward to this item specifically. So let's go on to the next one. So the next item is Axiom Arc. Now, this is a lethality item. Now, this is very interesting. Now, the changes that they're doing have been more so kind of targeted towards tanks and mages, but this is a new item that's coming as well for lethality users. So it gives 55 AD, which is 1925 gold. Gives 10 lethality, which is worth 50 gold, and 25 ability haste, which is 666.75 gold, which is kind of interesting considering champions like Fizz are gonna love this, and most Assassin Z, stuff like that. So it's kind of funny that the ability haste comes to 666. But overall, total gold 2641.75. Now, this is obviously just with the base stats, so you are going to lose roughly 350 gold. Now, obviously, 10 lethality is very, very nice, though, and I don't think lethality is one of them stats that I don't think the gold value of it is as good as it should. This is on purpose so that it's viable to buy early on. So this is kind of one of the things with lethality that you have to take into consideration. So the gold efficiency of the item is 88.06% overall, but the passive is where it's super, super interesting. So the passive is Flux, which means whenever a champion dies within 3 seconds of you having damaged them, it refunds 25% of your ultimate ability's total cooldown. So this is total cooldown at the moment. I do think one of the changes that they might make to this is put it as current cooldown, because I think in this iteration it's extremely powerful. This means that if you're playing something like Zed and you get a quadra kill, you're gonna, and say you've used your ultimate to start and get that first kill, you're actually going to be able to use your ultimate again for that last person. So I think this item is going to be insanely powerful, especially for champions like that want to rotate into bot lane. I could even see this being taken on like maybe Katarina. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure she wants the AD as much as she wants AP, but maybe if AD Katarina becomes a thing again, kind of the AD on hit build, then maybe this becomes very good on her too. I do think it's the fact that Kiana's little, I think it's a chakram, I don't know what it's called, is actually shown in the item. I think that's a hint of, you know, that it's going to be absolutely insane on her. 2 Kiana ults in one fight is going to be crazy. Same with every kind of assassin. So interesting that they added this item due to the fact that it's a little bit off theme as the rest of them, but I think it's going to be fun. I don't think it's going to be fun for ADs, but I think ADs are having a lot of quality of life kind of changes as well with runes like First Strike, so we'll see where that goes. So on to the next item. So the next item is Shadow Flame. Now this is the item that me personally I'm most excited for. Now the base stats 80 AP worth 1740 gold and 250 HP worth 667.5 gold for a total of 2407.5. So again, you're losing 600 gold from buying this item. So the passive is where the gold actually goes with this. So the passive is Shadow Flame. So damage to champions benefits from 10 to 20 magic penetration based on the target's current health, max at 1000 or less HP. I am interested to test this out a little bit more because I want to see what happens if, say, the target only has 1000 HP. Magic penetration granted when the target has 2500 or more HP. Okay, so that's kind of the cutoff for it, which is pretty interesting. But the interesting thing about it is you gain the max value if the target was recently affected by shields. Now this is going to be huge because obviously there's a lot of supports, especially enchanters, that can keep assassins alive for a significant amount of time. I'm looking at you, Yumi, like it's about time this champion gets hard nerfed, and I think this item is going to be the answer to that, to be honest. Now 20 magic penetration, I did mention this in the first look video. That means with this item and boots alone, salt boots, you're going to be getting roughly 38 magic penetration, which will penetrate 100% of 99% of all champions base MR, besides things like Talon that have 39, but that is a bit of an outlier. So I think this item is going to be incredibly powerful. I'm just kind of intrigued to think at what point during the build path champions are going to end up getting this. Now the build path is a little bit rough for it. It does have a needlessly large rod as part of it, which means, you know, needlessly large gives a huge amount of AP, 60 AP, but that's all it really gives. Now when you compare that to other kind of items, things like Alternator, they're easier to build based on, you know, double Amtome, and they also give you a massive amount of damage. Now this means that a lot of the kind of value from this item is going to be loaded into this passive, so it's going to be a little bit rough to build. So maybe third, fourth item, this could be extremely powerful after your Soul Shoes and, say, a Ludens. I think this could be very, very good. Now, the passive, the 10 magic pen actually comes to 311.1 gold, and the 20 magic pen comes to 622.2, which means when you are actually benefiting from the lowest amount of that passive, the minimum amount, it's 90.62% gold efficient, but at the maximum amount, it's 100.99%. So this is also going to be very, very big. One of the things that is important to note is that your once you do completely penetrate somebody's base MR, and what ends up happening then is your abilities, say if they do, say if our ability is going to do 100, let's get a different color, say 100 damage, and say you get 20 minus say 10 magic pen, that minus 10 magic resist, is actually going to mean that this ability that only does 100 damage at max is going to start doing maybe 110 damage. So you actually start getting more damage out of your abilities, which is going to really make this item super impressive. So I'm really looking forward to this one. It's going to be super interesting, and I really like this, and this is probably one of my favorites of the changes. On to the next, which is Cosmic Drive. Now, Cosmic Drive is, already in the game right now, but it is getting quite a big overhaul. Now, at the moment, it's once you get to 160 AP, you get more haste and movement speed, but now it's been changed. So now it has 60 AP, which is 1,305 gold, 250 HP, which is 667.5 gold, 30 ability haste for 800.1, and 5% movement speed for 197.5 gold. That means the item on its own, just in the base stats, is 2,970.1 gold. Now, for an item that only costs 3,000, it's going to be really interesting, purely for the fact that, you're getting all of the gold that you put in it. So second item, Cosmic Drive, is gonna, be even better now. It's already being taken on some champs like LeBlanc. I think it's going to be very good. Now, the build path is also pretty solid too. Fiendish Codex in there as well for a raw amount of damage, double lamp tone, very good, and you get movement speed out of the wisp too. So I think overall this item is going to be very good. Now, the passive is Spell Dance, so damaging a champion with 3 separate attacks or spells grant Cosmic Drive until exiting champion combat. Now, what Cosmic Drive does is it gives 30% movement speed, decaying to 15% obviously until you leave combat, and 40 ability power. So that doesn't change. So this is really good. Now, we can also work out the raw gold value of this too, because we know components for movement speed and AP. So with the passive at its maximum, it's going to be giving 2,055 gold, which is a huge amount. And passive at its minimum, it's going to be giving 1,462.5 gold. Now, this is insanely powerful because it's already 99% gold efficient with just the base stats. So what we're going to see is 167.5% gold efficiency at 30% movement speed. Even when it's decayed down to its lowest amount, it's still going to give 147.75%. Now, this item is going to terrorize solo queue and competitive, in my opinion. I do think this needs nerfing, especially considering 30 ability haste with just one item is an absurd amount. So I really think this item is going to be insanely powerful, and probably one of the outliers of the items that I think really need to be nerfed in order to be viable in the game. Let's go on to the next item, which is Horizon Focus. Now, Horizon Focus already exists in the game. Now it's going to be giving 110 ability power for 2,392.5 gold and 150 HP for 400.5, which is going to bring us to a total of 2,793 gold. So again, we're going to lose around 200 gold when we buy it, and that means that the passive has to be worth at least 200 gold because it's only 93.1% gold efficient. Now, the passive is Hyper Shot, which damaging a champion with a non-targeted ability at over 700 range, or slowing, or immobilizing. So immobilizing was in it before, but slowing exists now as well, which is super interesting. Then reveals them and increases the damage taken from you by 10% for 6 seconds. Now, this is super interesting. Now, obviously Horizon Focus does have a little bit of a difficult build path, but what we see is even on kind of poke champions, even on things like Yuumi right now that's terrorizing the game, what you do is you build Ludens, and then you get this alternator now. A second alternator is very good because once you've turned your first one into the full item, you can just get it again, and you can kind of stack them, which means you do a significant amount of damage. So the ability that triggers Hypershot also benefits from the damage increase. Pets and non-mobilizing traps do not trigger this effect, only the initial placement of zone abilities will trigger it. Distance is measured from the ability cast position, so this means that, say for example, if you cast it and then you get like closer in range, but like past that or below that 700 range, it's still going to go off. So could be very interesting. I think this is a kind of nice change. It means that Horizon Focus is more viable on a larger pool of champions, and it's still giving that very raw ability power, which is going to be interesting. So I do like this item. It's going to be interesting. It's going to make the champions that already liked it even better. But it's going to kind of appeal to them kind of long-range mid laners like Vel'Koz and Xerath, even things like Lux. And it's going to be very, very good for them. So let's move on to the next one, which is Demonic Embrace. Now, Demonic Embrace is going to be giving 60 AP for 1,305 gold and 450 HP for 1,201.5 gold for a total of 2,506.5 gold. Now, again, this is losing 500 gold, which is a massive amount to lose in the base stats, which means, again, this passive has to be worth it. So the gold efficiency is only 83.55%, but the passive is Azakana's Gaze. Dealing ability damage burns enemies for 2% for melee and 1.2% for range, max HP, magic damage every second for 4 seconds. Now, obviously, this is something that Riot introduced over the years to balance the items so that they can get kind of abused by these ranged champions that they weren't really intended for, but they've kind of embraced that. If somebody wants to build it, let them, but they will be taking a little bit of a knock. But one of the big things is Dark Pact. So you now gain 2% of your bonus HP as ability power. Vladimir is going to be crazy. Like, any kind of mage that kind of things like Malzahar, very, very good as well, especially considering you already like things like Liandry's, Rylai's. It's going to make him very, very scary. I think things like Morgana is going to be great on if she can afford it. So maybe Morgana jungle mid maybe becomes a thing again, especially considering there's a lot of AP changes. And also things like Amumu. I think Amumu is going to be completely broken when this item comes out, because, you know, he can go his build that he enjoys now, which is HP/AP, and he's going to really, really benefit from this. So I think this item can potentially be very good. They have removed things like the resistances that you get out of it right now, but overall I think it's going to be very, very good. Moving on to the next item, which is Serif's Embrace. Now, Serif's Embrace is getting a big, big change to it. Now, Archangel's Staff is going to be giving 60 AP for 1,305 gold, 500 mana for 700 gold, 200 HP for 534 gold, for a total of 2,539. Now, this before it kind of evolves into Serif's Embrace, but as a base, it's going to be 84.63%. This isn't going to matter as much. You don't really focus on building Archangel Staff until you've, you know, got a fully stacked tier anyway, so I don't think that's going to really matter as much that it's that lower gold efficiency. I also think that's the same on things like Winter. I think that's going to be a similar concept, but when it so obviously you get ability haste equal to 0.5% of your bonus mana, which is going to be extremely powerful. It's going to be very, very interesting, and obviously your mana charge, which comes with tier. Now, Serif's Embrace is going to have 80 AP, so an extra 20 for 1,740 gold. As you can see, that 20 AP is worth a very large amount because AP is worth a lot per one. It's going to give 860 mana, which is 1,204, a big jump of about 500 gold there just for completing the item. 350 HP for 667.5, so a little bit more there too. For a total of 3,000 gold still, because it builds out of Archangels and it kind of upgrades from there. As we can see here, you kind of get your tier, and then you get these eventually, you get this, and then it upgrades this. I don't know why it shows 6,000 gold. You can't actually buy it straight up. I think it's just something in the client to do with tracking how much kind of gold you have on you. Which, you know, it does make it a little bit rough when you're trying to kind of count gold, but overall it doesn't really matter. So again, it's going to be 120.38% gold efficient with just the base stats, which is very, very good. That's 20% bonus gold for completing it, which again, very, very big spike. Now, or again, you get a increase, you get haste equal to 1.3% of bonus mana, and Empyrean, restore health equal to 35% of mana spent, up to 25 to 50 based on level, plus 10% per cast. Toggle abilities can heal for up to 25 to 50 based on level, plus 20% AP per second. Now this is going to be insane because champions like, for example, Rise, and even things like Syndra that really like the item, they're going to restore so much HP based on that mana spent since they have spammable abilities. So anybody with spammable abilities are really, really going to like this item, and they're going to be be way tankier. So when they're coming against things like assassins, serifs with the crown of the Shattered Queen, is going to make this kind of combo, this 2-item combo, especially with Cosmic Drive, that 3-item spike is going to be insane on champions like Rise and even things like Orianna, anybody that can spam their abilities. So it's going to be a very, very strong item. I really like the changes to serifs. I think it's going to allow mages to have a lot more survivability, which, you know, is fair considering they've had an entire year of being blown up over and over and over. So onto the third to last item now, which is Force of Nature. Now, Force of Nature is going to be giving 350 HP for 934.5 gold, 70 magic resist for 1260 gold, and 5% movement speed for 197.5 gold. This comes to a total of 2392 gold and costs 2900 for the item. Now, this means that it's only 82.48% gold efficient. Now this is pretty bad. Now the build path is good. Negatron with movement speed and Ruby Crystals. It's going to be nice, the build path, but overall you're losing a lot of gold just for buying the item. Now against heavy AP, okay, it's going to be nice. Now taking magic damage from any enemy champions grants a stack of Steadfast, maximum 6 for 5 seconds. Enemy immobilizing effects grants an additional 2 stacks. So if you're into a lot of CC, this item could be very good. If they are lacking CC on their mages, this could be a little bit of a noob trap though. The second passive, Dissipate, while 6 stacks of Steadfast, you take 20% reduced magic damage and gain 10% increased movement speed. So this is where that kind of gold goes into. Now obviously if they do have very, very heavy magic damage, which, you know, will probably happen considering these changes with Cosmic Drive and the Shattered Queen, it's going to be very, very good in certain situations. Now it can be a really big noob trap though, so that's going to be something to take into consideration. And you know, one spell can add a stack every 1 second, so you really, really want to rely on people having immobilizing effects to make this useful. Now, second to last item, which is a Night's Vow. Now, Night's Vow grants 400 HP, which is 1068 gold, 10 ability haste, which is 266.7 gold, and 150% base HP regen for 750 gold. This means in total the item is worth 2084.7 gold, which, you know, you are going to lose a little bit. Again, this item is very cheap, so you're not going to lose as much. 90.64% gold efficient, so you are going to lose 10% of the gold you put into it, but that's, you know, that's not too bad. Oh well, less than 10%, but overall it's pretty good. I think it's going to be, again, potentially taken on supports, maybe junglers again. Things like Sejuani used to love this item, but when we look at the active, it designates an ally who is worthy for 60 seconds. Now, obviously, some people might not deem people worthy in solo queue, but, you know, it's the wording of the item. Sacrifice is the active. While your worthy ally is nearby, redirect 10% of damage they take to you and heal for 8% of the damage dealt by your worthy ally to champions. This means ADCs, especially if they've got a lot of gold from things like First Strike, are going to be pretty good to attach this item to. If they have less than 30% HP, the damage reduction is increased to 20% instead. So now you do get this 20% damage reduction, which is huge. And, you know, I think this might be what it takes for Night's Vow to become good again. I don't think it's amazing compared to the other items that are being changed, but for a tank item, I think it's pretty nice. Now on to the final item that is being changed in this new season. Abyssal Mask. So 400 HP for 1068 gold, 30 magic resist for 540 gold, and 10 ability haste for 266.7. This is going to mean that the item as a whole is only 1874.7 gold. Now this is a big red flag for me. Now the build path is okay. You get that spectral cowl and a kindle gem, which, you know, gives nice early ability haste, but I think overall this item is really bad. So it's only 69.43% gold efficient, which is extremely low for the base stats alone. It needs way more adding into it, a lot of HP or something. The passive though gives the curses nearby enemy champions, reducing their magic resist by 5 plus 1% bonus health. So it's going to be for dealing with really big tanks. For each cursed enemy, gain 7 magic resist. Now, oh sorry, it's going to be used on big tanks, should I say. Gain 7 magic resist, so in total, you know, you can get 90 additional gold out of that additional magic resist that you get out of it, which does put the total with the passive to 1,964.7 gold. Now, this still only puts it, if you proc it on 5 enemies, this is only going to be 72.77% gold efficient. I do think this needs more base stats. I just don't think this item's going to be good. A champion can only be cursed by 1 enemy at a time, so you can only build 1 on a team. So it's going to open up pro play mistakes for people that, you know, are going to be, if multiple get built, then that's going to be bad. It prioritizes the most potent curse. So overall, I really don't think this item's going to be too hot. I think it needs buffing quite a bit for it to be viable. But overall, so that's the end of the items that are coming. Obviously, I'll leave a link to this sheet in the description. So if you want to look over any of these stats and you know, see for yourself, then feel free. Again, I think these changes are made to make up to tank players and mage players for such an abomination that Season 11 has been, where it's been very difficult for those two subclasses to actually thrive in games, especially with things like low doms and Kraken and, you know, all of these things that are built to kill tanks. So overall, I think it's going to be very interesting. I like some of the direction they're going with some of the items. Some of them I think are too strong, some I think are too weak, but overall I think it's going to be pretty fresh, and I am looking forward to these items, sorry. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.